Cool beans, here we go. Welcome to Evolve or Remain, podcast to serve you some enlightening stuff. Today we are here with Matt Stewart, who has some remarkable things to share with you about his journey from being an electrician to working with his healing hands, and now has developed a profound belief in the power of purpose. Overcoming his own struggles with food, drug, and alcohol addiction, his journey compelled him to aid others in their battles. With a decade dedicated to the health and wellness domain, he's facilitated transformations through health coaching, myofascial release massage, breathwork, and personal training. Now serving as a somatic resilience coach, he empowers busy professionals to transcend overwhelm and stress, guiding them to reclaim their holistic well-being. Under his transformative guidance, clients emerge with revitalized physical and mental vigor, newfound time freedom, and an unwavering resilience to overcome life's adversities. Check out his story and website at nourishandconquer.com to learn more. Thank you, Matt, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with both of you.
Seriously, man.
Yeah.
This is good. I love it.
I love it. And it's interesting how we all met, It's, meeting Melissa at Spa Tech. She was my massage therapy teacher. And, Mike and I met at a shamanic workshop talking to trees.
Right.
Yeah.
I love every time you say that.
I know. I love saying it.
We tell people that, and they're like, for real?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, for real. And there weren't any drugs involved, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
That's the power of that thought purpose. That's the power of shamanism. It's just the power of doing things to feel better. Sometimes they get very weird. I don't even know what they are, but I think it's a good way to find our tribe, so to speak. Because you tell that story to people, Mike and I met talking to trees, you know instantly whether they're your person or not,
Right, exactly. Those are
So
your people.
true.
Yeah.
I love going out into the woods and just giving a tree a nice big bear hug.
Mm-hmm.
It's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your journey from electrician to healer.
Oh, God. Where do I even begin with that? It all starts back in 1984 when ye old Matty was born, right?
I was like, whoa, we're going way back.
We're going way back, yeah.
We're getting into the inner womb, not even inner child.
Yeah, the sense of separation from something bigger than yourself. Is that how deep we're going right now, friends? So if we go back to me being an electrician, it was, I was just miserable. At that point in my life, I was drinking 5 days a week. I was going to work hungover and drunk. But, fun thing, when you're in the trades, as long as you keep showing up for work, nobody really thinks you have a problem. Every Thursday, the company would buy us beer. We'd get there, we'd all get our checks, and we'd keep drinking. But, none of them ever really cared or
questioned it, right?
Yeah, nobody questioned it. It was the norm. A lot of the old timers would still drink because they were in just so much physical pain.
I was a bricklayer for a few years, and I can tell you, spending time around those guys, that's what they did. Like after work, it was always popping a couple of beers, and that was the norm. That's just what it was.
Same for me growing up in the auto world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the trades, that's that's what it comes with.
Yeah, that's the territory. And my parents were never in the trades. My mother was a school teacher. My dad was a director of security at a bunch of hospitals. So, the trades was just something I went into because I always, from as early as I can remember it, I always had the sense of lost. Just never knew what I wanted to do with myself, where I was going in life. I was always waiting for somebody to come down and tell me what the fuck I was supposed to do with this. Like, can we curse on this?
We can fucking curse.
We can totally curse. Yes.
You did it. You started it off.
Well, I just got to ask after I do it.
Please do.
I got to get cleared.
I put a little disclaimer at the top that says, cursing in this one.
Okay, good. Yeah.
There's nothing like the word fuck. It's a great release.
I agree. Because once I let that first fuck out, I'm able to just drop in the moment and just really commit to the story.
Speak freely.
Yeah. So at that time, it was just, I was so friggin' miserable every single day just doing something I hated. It's a great profession, but it just was never for me. I got my license. I never even knew what I was doing. I, passed the state licensing board first try. No clue how to do electrical work, but I was licensed.
Okay.
Which is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Also,
shocking.
Yeah. I got electrocuted so many times that it doesn't give you superpowers. Sadly enough, I tried. Nothing.
Maybe you phased it out. You gotta do it one more time.
We can try it right now.
No,
we're open something up.
good.
No, but we had talked about this too. You do have a superpower.
I do. I have lots of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
ADHD being one of them.
I mean, I got ADHD. I got empathy. I got metal bones. Well, metal plate in my chin. So that's half adamantium. It's titanium over
Right.
Yeah. Can't break my jaw again. That's what the doctors told me. So that's fun. So yeah, just essentially hitting rock bottom. At that time, I was 248 pounds when I weighed in at the gym the first time. I knew I needed to make a change. I tried so many things, couldn't do it on my own. I hired a trainer at the time and I maxed out 2 credit cards to do it. And over the next 11 months, I lost 60 pounds. I dropped down. It was this constant battle. And while I was going through that with the trainer, they were so helpful with the movement and the nutrition. At that same time, I was getting sober. So over those 11 months, I had these massive changes. Like I lost 60 pounds. I quit drinking, just cold turkey, quit smoking, all that at the same time.
It amazes me how many times we hear this where it's almost as if like there's this boom, all of it, all at once, right now. Yeah.
How was that for you?
People ask me that and I have a hard time because it's over and done with. I mean, I think for me, it was just a switch went off. And when I have those switch moments, like when I quit doing drugs 20 years ago, it was the same thing. It wasn't going to programs. It wasn't AA, NA, any of those things. It was just like, I'm not doing that again. And everything changed, which really goes into, the coaching and a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's the power of your mind, your belief system. What you set your mind to, you can move mountains. Because I don't think anyone would really recommend, if you're trying to get sober, also trying to lose the weight and quit smoking cigarettes, because it's a massive life transformation. It can be done. I mean, I did it on my own. I didn't set out to do those things. Circumstances led to it. And while I was going through it, it sucked. Honestly, some of it really sucked.
But the way I see it, though, every one of those pieces was helping you through each one of those pieces, right? Losing weight was actually continuing to keep you away from alcohol and stay sober, right? And that knowing that you're like, I'm going to stay clean, it was just that circle between all of those things. So,
yeah, they really were tools. I mean, if I step back and look at it, it's like that was, I didn't drink because if I were to drink, I wouldn't go work out the next day.
Right.
That was one of the things with that. If I were to smoke, I couldn't do cardio. I mean, I used to be a big runner, but I ran so much I now hate it and don't run at all because it's just so boring. I personally think.
I tell people, if you see me running, move.
Yeah, something bad's coming after me. But at that time, there was really no depth to my own healing because I wasn't, I think, ready for it, and I didn't see it presented in any sort of way where I knew that there was a healing. I just sort of cut a part of myself off. I cut those numbing agents off, and I focused on healthy stress points. I would change careers. So I got into being a personal trainer. I became a massage therapist. I took all these training certifications, and that helped me stay sober, I think, for the first few years. And what I now know, that's just another form of busyholism. And I like using that term because I'm technically an alcoholic. I know some people in the program wouldn't agree with the term busyholism because they think it takes the power away from alcoholism. But, the way I look at it is, and it's probably going to piss a lot of people off, ultimately, it's a choice. Drinking, masking, numbing, whatever your poison is, it comes down to a choice. Because when I started to get sober, I started to realize I would almost like reverse engineer it. Like, okay, usually I would just be on autopilot and go to the liquor store. And then I started to know, I was like, wait a second, there's a lot of points where I can just disrupt that pattern.
Yep.
Like, I'm sitting in a chair, I realize I'm out of my whiskey. Love Jack Daniels, I drink tons of that. I go, oh, now I got to get up, go downstairs, get the keys, get in the car, turn the car on, back out, stoplights all the way there. Any one of those points was an opportunity for me to disrupt that pattern. Even when you're at the store, you don't have to walk in. There's a higher self and there's a lower self at play here. The lower self wants that numbness. It wants that escape. It craves it because some things are too much for it. Sometimes there's trauma that we go through, whether it's capital T trauma, lowercase t, whatever it is, it's just too much. And that the lower self is like, no, we want to just stay down here. This frequency, this feeling, this lack of feeling, this numbness, this is cool. This is where it's at. Shit's not real.
You say that it's going to piss a lot of people off. And is that just coming down to the fact that, like, you call yourself an alcoholic, an addict, or whatever it may be and stuff like that. But what it sounds like to me is that it's a choice ultimately. And ultimately, you're choosing not to be that.
Absolutely.
I'm not choosing to be an alcoholic. I'm choosing to make different decisions in my life. Do Do you still find yourself do you still call yourself an alcoholic?
I use it only to explain, I guess, the severity of it so I can relate to people.
Okay.
More to explain to potentially people who are trying to get sober curious, like where I've come from. Because I think there's a lot more power to it, especially with drinking with such frequency of 5 times a week.
Right.
With very little turnaround. Like that versus somebody who drinks, maybe just on the weekends. You could still, by the definition, you can be an alcoholic if you just drink to get drunk.
That's right? It. True.
Yeah.
True.
So the frequency, I just use it as a way to explain it. But after I say it, I'm like, I don't even like calling myself that, because one of the things when I went to the meetings, I felt the most disempowering thing that I saw at that meeting was every meeting starts off with, "Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm an alcoholic." For the next however long you're in the program, you got to identify with that. You're carrying that burden. You're carrying that cross.
And you relive it every single day.
Every single day.
So every day you wake up,
Yep.
you have to do the things in a way, or you have to do whatever it is that day in a way that solidifies the fact that I'm carrying this burden, as you put it.
Yep.
Why would we want to live like that if we're so far away from that quote-unquote addiction?
Well, why you want to...
For you, what changed? What made you stop referring to yourself as an alcoholic or an addict?
I think it was just wanting to... wanting to be transformed. That was the biggest thing. And I think to transform, there's the rebirth of the phoenix that comes to mind with that. And you got to shed the past. You got to let a part of yourself die off. You got to let it burn in the flames. And I wasn't going to carry that term anymore because it wasn't who I was. I no longer craved alcohol. I no longer craved drugs when I made that switch back when I was a teenager. It was just, we're not doing this. This isn't helpful. It needs to stop. And even as I say that, I feel like it's coming from the lens of more of the masculine friends. As I even say that, it's more of like a father figure going like, cut the shit. And I think some of that goes into the dysfunction I had when I first got sober, and I didn't know about inner child work. I didn't know about masculine, feminine, inner parenting, or parts work, or any of these things I discovered along the way, because it was really just like backhanding myself with such negative and dysfunctional self-talk, like, knock this shit off. You're a piece of shit. Keep drinking, and just keep feeding this negativity loop. But I didn't go back into those patterns because I was so overwhelmed with changing careers and doing all this different stuff. And at the time, if you look at somebody who's getting sober and you look at somebody who's changing careers, those are all healthy things. So nobody's going to stop you, or most people aren't going to stop you and go like, hey, are you really happy? Are you really healing right now? Or are you just avoiding some shit? Good on you for doing it, but you're still masking. You're still avoiding the essential.
I see that a lot of the times for people who are sober now. They don't do the deeper work. What brought you to start getting into the inner child and inner teenager stuff?
You want to talk about you pissing people off right now, right there, because there's a lot of people out there that are, sober, but that don't do that inner work, and I think that's why they continue to refer to themselves as, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict.
Yeah. And they're keeping themselves trapped in that box by calling themselves that.
There's a comfort to it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a comfort to it. And the masking is like, you're trading one vice for another.
Yep. 100%. And that's, you just transferring the thing. Then eventually, I would notice that as I started to slow down, or I'd finish a certification, or I'd finish some training program or some schooling or something, I started to slow down, then I'd dive into a dysfunctional relationship. Where I'd date a little broken baby bird female, try to nurse them back to health, and then the second I got them back to health and I needed something, they'd be like, yeah, well, I'm good, I'm going to leave. I'm taking off. This is too much. You were too much. You were a burden. All this, just little did I know, tying into that wound, that first wound of I am not enough. And never really knowing it, and just seeing these repeat patterns that kept coming up in my life, and eventually getting to the point after failed relationship, after just running out of things to numb myself with, I realized that I was the problem.
So bringing it back to the question, when did you start getting into the inner child, inner teenager stuff to find your worth? Was that after you realized that you were the problem?
Yes, that was. Thank you for reining me back here. I tend to go off on tangents sometimes.
That's what this is all about, though. Just talk all day.
So I'm glad you two are here to just bring it back home.
Right.
When did I? So I think it was probably about I think it started about 4 years ago. I was just in a new relationship, and this partner was all about the healing. And, she eventually outgrew me, because I wasn't doing that work. I'd do a little bit, then I'd get to an uncomfortable point, and then I'd stop, and then I'd run away, and I'd just get distracted again.
Were you pissed with her?
Oh, yeah.
Meaning, did you resent her for that, for like growing without you?
Yeah, I think now as I look back on it, absolutely. There was definitely a lot of resentment on both of ours, because we would grow in, both of us, we were there, we learned a lot from each other, but both of us would outgrow each other in different areas. And then there was just a constant resentment of never being the person that either of us really needed because of that.
I think it's important for couples to understand that right now, to hear this and to know that, every one of us, even though we're in a relationship, we're still in different places in life sometimes. And as long as we're moving towards that goal of always being better and getting to where we need to be in life, we can work together in a relationship. But then there is those couples in those relationships where there's so much disparity, such a gap between one person's growth and another person's unwillingness to move forward, that it causes a massive issue in the relationship.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were able to learn from that.
Oh yeah, after some time, after I let go a lot of the anger, because that was always the thing. There's misplaced anger towards other people. There's a reason to be that sacred rage or to feel anger when you've experienced some things. But there's another thing when it's an overreaction. That's where that shadow comes into play. Discovering shadow work and inner child work it's really just calling yourself out and seeing your own bullshit.
Game changer, right?
Absolutely. You can't run from it. You can't destroy it. That's another thing. I mean, that whole nihilism and that just self, there is no self. I went into Buddhism with so much anger and negativity, and it corrupted the religion to be this very dark thing about I'm destroying myself because I'm not worthy. I'm not worth it. And I think it's very important that that's one of the reasons why I really believe that people need somebody in their life to guide them, to help guide them through these sticking points in their life, because everybody is equipped to get through certain points, but a lot of the times you can't see your own bullshit.
No.
Have you worked with coaches?
I have. I've worked with a number of coaches over the last 4 years. I've been a part of group coaching, one-on-one coaching, spiritual coaching, just life coaching, health coaching. So I've had all sorts of different coaches from all different backgrounds who I've learned amazing things from. Some of them not so amazing, but I think it's even more helpful. I think one of the stories of my life is learning what not to do. That's been
right, because you're going to have coaches that are going to teach you such amazing, great things, and then the ones that maybe don't show you what you were looking for are still showing you what you need.
That's what it is, and I'm coming from this place, and I'm outgrowing it now, and I'm doing a lot of that inner work of seeing how I was a passive bystander in a lot of my life. I was in that victim mindset of just everything is happening to me. I'm not going to stake my claim and do anything to change my circumstances. I'm just going to go with the flow. And there's a time and a place for that, but when the bulk of your life, especially as a male, is just going with the flow, that's not going to work.
No.
Why do you say especially as a male?
Because I think the term going with the flow is it's more, I don't want to say passive because that would be insulting, but going with the flow is more just, riding the waves of life, seeing where things take you. There's a way to do that where you could be an active participant. It's almost like if you're creating a stream, or if there's a river or a stream, you're creating your own little tributary, or you're actively creating your own path to follow. And I think, in the inner workings of masculine and feminine, the masculine is obviously a little more, it has that assertive energy. It's not to say that men and women or women can't be assertive. That's not what it is. But it's just the yin and yang energy inside each and every one of us. To where now you got to see what you're doing, right? You got to be aware of what it is. And women lean into their more masculine positions when they need to do things like that. And then they go back into the feminine. They go back into that flow state. Whereas in men, I think the analogy is and I love it, it's like the masculine energy is more like the roots of the tree, digging deep down and supporting. And then the feminine is more like the wind blowing through the leaves and the branches, and it's rocking. And when you have everything in harmony, that tree does not break because you need that flow. You need that support. And when you have a mismatch of those energy inside, what happens to that tree? It's going to break. It's going to snap.
It's a beautiful way to explain it.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the shamanic work that you've done.
I mean, the shamanic work I've done, it's mostly Celtic shamanism because I've never been drawn. I'm not Native American. I have no Native American bone, or at least that I know of in my body. So Native American shamanism, I've always thought it was cool, but it never really resonated with me on any sort of level. And then I think 3 years ago, I discovered that there was in fact Celtic shamanism. I mean, it's more of a term. Shaman is just a healer. It's a guide. Right. Some of you hosts, whatever you want to call it. It's a different word everywhere. No one group of people has a lock on the word shamanism.
Right. It actually originated in Siberia.
Yes. Yeah. And exploring that was really helpful because I was able to dive into my own inner workings in a different way because I find that there's a lot of guided meditations and a lot of practices you can have, but they tap into more of the left brain approach to this. And through shamanism, it had, at least what I studied, it helped me to piece both of those together. Because again, it's very easy for me to slip into, the upper, lower, middle realms to do some sort of journeying. But a lot of times I'd go there and I would have no plan and nothing would happen. I'd just be floating around in this space, seeing some cool things, but I wouldn't get any answers.
Real intention behind why am I journeying to the middle realm?
Absolutely.
Upper realm.
I would have no questions going in with it. Show me everything. And then the realms.
It'll just show you whatever.
Okay.
Whatever comes up.
Here's some stars. Here's a castle.
That was a cool image.
Yeah. Here's a talking wolf. Figure it out. So I think the thing about shamanism that I really appreciate is its simplicity. I think a lot of times now we overcomplicate things. I know I overcomplicate the shit out of everything in life. But shamanism, like I said, Mike and I, we're not talking to trees.
Yeah.
And there's an energy there. There's a wisdom that comes from that. And we literally sat in a parking lot and talked to trees by ourselves. And I can only speak for myself, I got some great answers. I got some great wisdom.
It was an incredible workshop.
Yeah.
And just to have that connection with nature where, that's who we are. We were in a meeting a little earlier, all three of us actually, and somebody had brought up the fact that, New Year's really shouldn't be in January. It should be in March.
Don't even get me started.
Right, I know, right? I agree on this because of the seasons and where the seasons fall. And, spring is really about action and growth, and winter is about rest and renewal. And it's like, we're nature. We, as beings, human beings, we are actually nature, so we should be that much more connected to the outer workings of nature itself, the planet, Mother Earth.
And we've lost that rhythm.
Damn right we have.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many goddamn fucking problems out there right now. Everybody's on this fucking hate kick. Everybody hates this person, hates that person. This group hates this group.
There's too much masculine energy out there that's wounded.
Thank you.
She's not fucking kidding.
Yeah.
That's right. We need that.
And that's where the calendar system came from, starting the year in January. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're not listening to the moon cycles anymore.
Nope.
We're not listening to our inner cycles anymore.
Right.
So right now's the time to start blossoming, start coming out, start doing making those changes for yourself because you have the energy to do so, opposed to doing it in January when we want to hibernate, go within, do the inner work that we need to do in order to thrive in the spring.
Yeah. And that's what the fuck it's all about.
Right.
It's to connect again, right?
Yeah.
Listen to your intuition.
It's not complicated.
No.
We have to remove the mind and not overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
So you're connected through shamanism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about your disconnection in life in general, like those times when you were an alcoholic. Like what? Give us some stuff. Stories.
Oh God, yeah.
Where the hell were you at, mentally, emotionally?
Well, even before that, though, right? Because you were addicted to drugs prior to alcohol. Is that right?
Yeah, I got 2 stories. I'll give you the sobriety stories for both. So the first one this is actually very interesting because it was on an event. So I got sober from drugs, and when I would do drugs, I would do prescription medications. I would do downers. I would do Present, Vicodin, Percodan, codeine, Valium, just anything to numb out.
That was never really a pill person myself.
Oh, I love them.
I loved them too.
So much fun.
They were great, and then you mixed them with alcohol, and it's just...
I'd smoke, I'd snort, I'd smoke, I fucking smoke a ton of different shit, but never, for some reason, the pill, I was like, why? I don't know.
I was always too anxious as a kid, you know. I was also on a big load of Adderall because of my ADHD. So, like, stimulants, I never got into those. Right. I felt like I was already too nervous enough that would not be good for my heart. So this was the last time I ever did drugs, and it was Klonopins was the culprit. I've done Klonopins, they're a muscle relaxer. I've done them 3 times. Each time with escalation, I used them, it got worse. The first time I lost my favorite weed pipe, and as a young 16-year-old boy, that's absolutely devastating.
Worst fucking thing.
I still, to this day, I look for that thing in my parents' backyard. I have no idea what
I got a friend of mine that threw mine when we were younger, around that age.
Yeah.
The Salem Wharf.
Oh my God.
Like right into
the
water.
Friend threw it in there?
I heard it.
Did you throw your friend in the water?
I was so close. We used to call it the magic pipe.
The second time, I almost cut my thumb off with a pill cutter in the back of a car. And this is the third time, and it's also interesting because it happened on an event in the Reading school systems, and this was 20 years ago, more than that, called Shadow Day. You know, synchronicity, shadow work is very interesting.
All right.
So on Shadow Day, the town of Reading would band together for all the seniors, and any senior could choose any job they wanted to shadow in the town. Sounds great, right? You could shadow a cop, you could be a lawyer, a doctor, and you could go follow this person for an entire day.
What did you choose?
So my brain, my drug-addled mind, there's only 2 choices at that time. Pharmacist and zookeeper.
My face kind of dropped on the zookeeper thing. That's not one I would have ever...
Well, you can get drugs there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
wait. Whoa.
Yeah, come on now.
Shit,
See? How many drugs did you do with that didn't just jump? See, I question your
Well, you see, I don't do pills.
I've done ketamine before. I was like, okay, maybe I'll get some of that.
Fuck.
So I'm always curious at how my life would have unfolded if I chose to be a zookeeper for that day, because I chose to be a pharmacist.
Okay.
So I go into this place, and the guy literally welcomes me with open arms at the pharmacy. He's like, yeah, just come on in. No background check, no nothing. Just hang out here. Look at all the pills. See what I do. Just, you're on your own. And I'm just like, okay.
Pockets are getting lined today.
Yeah. So I'm sketchily looking around the whole place. Like, okay, are there any cameras here? Okay, it looks like there's none. So I just go down the aisle and go right to K, make a beeline for that. And I see the Klonopins, 2 milligrams. I think that might be the strongest they make because these fuckers are intense. And I just pocket 1 bottle, put it in there. And then the day ends, and I leave. And that's it. My girlfriend at the time picks me up. And I remember taking 1, and then nothing. It was like Lay's potato chips. Once you pop 1, you can't stop. Because what unfolded, I'm about to tell you, happened in terms of gray out, which is like partial remembering, and people who were there telling me the story.
Okay.
So the story goes, I started taking those, and then we went back to the high school. And at the high school, there's a back parking lot where all the seniors could hang out. So apparently I went into the back parking lot and was just running around giving people pills, just in plain view of everything. So after that, I was the most popular kid for the rest of my senior year. But then after that, I think I was so fucked up I couldn't go home. So my friend was going to a tanning salon. I'm looking at you, Mr. Tanning over here.
Knock it off.
So I go to the tanning salon, and apparently I'm transfixed by a candle, this flame. I'm just staring at it. And it's making the secretary very uncomfortable. So she calls the boss, who's this big, jacked Italian dude. I don't know if he's Italian. I just think it's fun to say he's Italian for the story. But jacked, covered in tattoos, shaved heads. Apparently, I must have said something to him because he picked me up and threw me down a flight of stairs. This was on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
So I fall down the stairs. I land in the parking lot, explode through the door. Unrelated, there's 2 Wakefield police officers there. And they look over, and they were in disbelief. They come over like, hey, you all right? We don't know what happened. How did you just fall down a flight of stairs? And then in that state, I did what most normal people would do. I just get up, look at the cops, and go, what do you think, you're tough? And then try to fight the police.
You tried to fight the police.
It didn't go well, as one would gather. So apparently they slammed me down, face first in the cop car. I tried to run away in handcuffs. Big theme in the story is running away. Didn't get very far. I was promptly face planted back down into there. Spend the next few hours in jail. My dad bails me out. Thank God for him. He knew something was off. So they take me to the hospital, and they pump me full of a bunch of drugs, which is supposed to counteract it.
Yeah.
And while I'm in the hospital, I'm there for I don't even know how long. I'm sitting there, and I'm having like a full-on sort of like quasi-religious experience because apparently I was sitting cross-legged on a gurney yelling, "I am Buddha, I am Christ," losing my shit.
Listen, we say it all the time on this podcast that we wouldn't do these things if they weren't fun at one point. But it's just not sustainable.
Oh yeah, this whole event. I mean, it's
fuck, man.
Yeah, this is exactly why I stopped doing drugs. So, anyways, story continues. It's time to leave. My parents are like, all right, we're leaving. We're gonna go home. You need some rest. Cool. Game on. So we start to walk out, and I see the sliding glass doors open. And I noticed there's an ambulance backed up with its doors open. And there's 3 dudes in white coats coming towards me. And they're making heavy eye contact with me. And I go, huh. Turn around, look at my parents. And behind them, there's 2 more people in white coats coming towards me. Huh. So now I decide it's time to run again. Don't get very far because there's 5 full-grown adult men chasing me. They slam me down on the hospital bed, stick a needle in my ass, and I'm out like a light. Now I wake up. Don't know where I am. It seems like it's this hospital room. I can't quite figure out where I am, but it's a large room. There's a lot of beds. It's white, fluorescent lights. I am so confused. So I get up and open the door, and I walk out into what looks like a day room, and there's all these people in white outfits. Did I join a cult? I have no idea. Why is everyone wearing so much white? Am I at Spa Tech? It's an inside joke. So I'm looking around and I go, I have no fucking clue where I am. So I just walk back into my room, the only safe place I know. And as I walk in, there's a gentleman, a young man who's got his shirt off, and tattooed all over his body are different scenes of cops being executed with shotguns. And he's dumping hot chocolate on my pillow. And he looks at me and I go, what are you doing? He goes, oh no, he came back. And then just runs out of the room. And I have no idea what the fuck is going on at this point. So a few minutes later, a bunch of doctors walk in. I say, Mr. Stewart, how you doing? Well, I have no idea how I'm doing. Not good. What day do you think it is? This whole event took place on a Wednesday. So, I don't know, Thursday? Like, no, it's Saturday. You've been asleep for the last 3 days.
Holy fuck, man.
Yeah. So after that, I found out I was transported to, I don't know what the term is, but I was transported to a mental hospital. I was supposed to be there for 6 days. Ended up staying for 7 because they kept trying to get me to admit that I was trying to kill myself, which even to this day, I don't think I was. I literally took 1 pill and don't remember a fucking thing.
And how old were you again?
This was 17.
So obviously your parents called them.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones that, initiated
60 me or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then you see all these adult men coming at you.
Yeah. Frightened.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was starting to peel back the layers. No wonder where my trust issues might come from.
You just figured that shit out.
1 layer at least. And I remember after that, just showering, I think the next day, and feeling all these bruises all over my body. And just going, wow, I should probably never do this again. Something like this. And that was the last day that I ever did a hard drug. I just swore them all off, never touched a pill. And again, I went to, I was required because there was a court thing going on because the police did find me with an empty bottle of pills. I had to go to some treatment programs, but again, it was never a root cause thing. Yeah.
You were 17.
Yeah.
When all this happened.
Frightened.
If
I could be honest. Yeah, I was terrified at the time.
What brought you to that, man? All those fucking drugs, the escape, the disconnection. What was it?
So, the biggest thing is avoiding the pain of childhood sexual trauma. That's what it all went down to. It was that masking that, of sitting with that and feeling. Truthfully, at the time, I've discovered this probably 6-7 years ago. So even at the time, I had no clue. It was just repressed. I never wanted to address it. It was even worse because it was coupled because it was a fucking family member, which destroyed my concept of trust with human beings in general.
I totally understand.
Yeah. And, the whole time it was just this, because I've had so many somatic experiences of just remembering how frightened I was, how confused I was, how angry I was, how sad, how sick to my stomach I am to feel like that sweet little boy was victimized by somebody who's supposed to be so close to him and so loving to him.
How old?
7. Yeah.
And these are things that you just started remembering in the last 6 to 7 years.
Yeah. They've
repressed memories.
A lot of it came up through, myofascial release and somatic work of just the remembering of the body, reconnecting to the deeper levels. Because when you go through that, It's like we talked about at lunch, like a part of your consciousness separates during trauma and it disassociates from your body. And that part of you gets hidden away. And you can't hide one part of yourself. You can't cut off one part of yourself without the other parts of yourself suffering.
You know, a lot of people would, and this is, I think, what scares a lot of people is that they hear these stories of going through like myofascial release, somatic movement, breath work, whatever modality that they utilize, and then they're like, you know, because I've got even energy work, and shamanic work, and shamanic practices, and doing journeys with clients. One of the first questions I get asked is, "Am I going to remember something that I don't know about?" And I'm very blunt, very honest and upfront. You may, I don't know what's there for you. Everybody's experience is unique, but I'm here for you, and we're going to hold that space. Now, for you, did you go looking for it? Did you know something? Like, was there something that's saying to you, like, this came from somewhere? And did you go looking for it for like 6 to 7 years ago?
I didn't. It started to come up because it was, you know, again, you remove all those triggers and it was, or triggers, the numbing agents, the alcohol, the work, the toxic relationships. It was never, I wanted to heal. I always went into it. It's like we talked about having no idea what you're looking for. I just wanted to feel better, and this came up. But I mean, one of the things to remember is, and I think it's important, is even if you start to experience this in energy work, somatic work, body work, psychotherapy, you can stop it. Right? You don't have to fully experience these things. You are always in control of this. But the one thing is it will come back up. It's not, you can shut it down if it gets too intense. Learn from my story because I bull rushed through all that healing and ended up a lot of the times working with people who are not equipped to support me, and I was re-traumatizing myself. Because the reason some of this took longer, because with that re-traumatization, I didn't want to do any of this fucking work because I didn't want to, because when I first started this, it was torment. It was such somatic remembrance of just feeling disgusting and depressed and anxious and just generally not good, not happy. It was a negative space. But with time, that starts to dissipate.
How did you get through that? Like, what shifted for you in order to get away from those low level vibration like frequencies with the trauma and step above it?
There was something inside of me. I don't know what it is. I've thought a lot about it. It was just something that was just, at first it started as a whispering. It was just keep going. This will get better. This is only temporary. And really, I guess connecting to that inner wisdom and learning how to remember that. Because I think another story of how I really readdressed my entire relationship with anxiety was one time I was having a full-on panic attack about to go to work, so I couldn't do any, smoke weed or vape or anything. And I just heard a voice that was like, sit the fuck down, breathe into this, meditate into this, feel everything. And I started having a full-on somatic unwinding, pulse spiked, I was breathing heavy, I started sweating, I was crying. And after experiencing about 5 to 10 minutes of discomfort, it started to break. And ever since that day, the volume knob kept getting turned down more and more on my anxiety to the point where I was able to get off all medication. So there's a part of it where doing some of this work, you got to experience bumps, aches, and pains. I mean, the first time, I keep using this analogy, riding a bike, right? You want to learn how to ride a bike. We've all done it. When you fall off, you get hurt. It sucks. It's any new skill. You want to learn how to squat. You want to learn how to run a business. Anything new, you're going to hurt. You're going to fuck up. It's going to suck. You got to get through that.
Those growing pains.
Yeah, thank you. Growing pains. And that's what it is. I mean, a common thing, another story is I didn't learn how to ride a fucking bike till I was 30 because I just was so averse to pain. Yeah.
I still haven't.
Oh my God, this is Somerville. Shit. Yeah.
I tried when I was younger, but it was like right around the time my traumas really started to all happen. And I couldn't get it, and I got frustrated, and I walked away, and I've never been back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big thing for me that I want to change.
There's a place in Somerville, a bunch of old hippies in Somerville. They have a barn. You can literally go and teach it.
No
Seriously?
shit.
That's what I did, yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to get that information from you.
I'm just going to have to Google it. I don't remember, but yeah.
Do you find that you guys stay away? This may be a question for the both of you. Do you find that you stay away from riskier ventures or things that would put you in situations where you might get hurt?
Do you want to go first? Because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Drink some water.
Well, it's about you, brother.
It is all about you.
It doesn't matter. I asked the question to both of you because you both, similar experiences, and then you're both saying that like you didn't learn how to ride a bike. You said it was because, you didn't want to get hurt. You didn't want to fall down and get hurt.
I mean, for me, Yeah, there's some times, but then there's also other times where I just take extreme risks, like skydiving. I've done that. Walking on fire, I've done that. Like to most people, that seems insane, but to me, it's like, well, that's why you do it. Like it's like you shift the barometer for what stress and discomfort is, and you spike it so far out of alignment that when you come back, it's like, yeah, life isn't that hard. You know.
I take risks almost on the daily. Running a business is very risky. As far as bodily stuff, like I won't go skiing anymore. I say I like to be on my own 2 feet because I can trust myself. But if I involve anything else into that, it's very hard to trust that.
Right.
But like I'll snowmobile still, and I've wiped out oodles of times, and I still get back on just because I love it.
Yeah.
But also with my work, I can't get injured because of what I do, and then I'd be out. So it's like, what do I weigh here? And I think that's really been holding me back from trying to do the bike, trying to learn that. Because if I do end up getting hurt in that process, I'm out of work, So that's another thing. But I also feel like that's a piece of the resistance that I still am using to not step into that power.
So almost like you're using it as an excuse.
Right.
What you're saying. Understood. Okay. Guys, we're fucking coaching on the program. This is what we do, right? So
I don't know. It's my first time here. I have no idea. I'm along for the ride, brother.
We'll have you back. Don't worry.
So you had shared about your drug sobriety, but you haven't yet shared about your alcohol sobriety.
Yeah, that one, if I think about it like that, there was no event. Like the event should have happened 8 years before, because when I got sober, it was, well, I guess it was, I could either live on the streets. I was still living at home. My parents were like, if you don't get sober, you can keep drinking or you can live on the street.
Right.
And I finished the bottle I was drinking that night. I was like, well, I actually started doing that. Like, can I survive out there? No, I probably can't. So that was the last time. And again, just like the drugs, after that, like part of the requirement for that was they wanted me to go to AA. So I went to a total of like 4 meetings. Just wasn't for me.
Got it.
I mean, the story that should have set it off, and I know we don't live in a world where shoulds matter, is a car accident when I was 20. I think to this day, there's still people in my hometown who think I died.
No shit.
Yeah. I remember, I think this was like 10 years ago, I ran into the dude I graduated with. We were like in the bathroom at some club, and he looks over at me, and I had a mohawk at the time. He was like, hey man, sweet mohawk, I'm not hitting on you or whatever. And I was like, dude, you don't remember me? He's like, I told him my name was Stu, because that's what everybody knew me as, Stu. He was like, oh my God, I thought you died. I was like, no, still here, man.
It was that crazy for you back then.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was 20, and 2 of my friends I was driving. I just had a brand new Honda Civic. It was lowered. It was sick. It was beautiful. I think it was my first car. I love that thing. And we were party hopping. We were drinking margaritas out of the trunk, just going to different parties doing that. Because why wouldn't you? That seems completely reasonable.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, have you not made margaritas?
I've done a hell of a lot
Been there, done that.
Okay.
In the trunk.
Same.
And I think it was like 2 in the morning. It definitely wasn't raining. But there's a turn in Reading where I lived. It's like a 90-degree corner coming right off the highway. And I came off of that turn just going 70. And I remember my buddy in the back. He screams out, you got it, man, you got it. So I take the corner at 70. I did not have it. No. I hit the tree at 70 miles an hour.
You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. 70 miles an hour. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The 2 in the back, and one of them was wearing a seatbelt. The other friend was wearing a seatbelt. Both of them just scrapes, very superficial, thank God, because that could have really derailed my life. So the last thing I remember is time slowing down and the airbag coming out and just watching it, very slow motion, missing it, going, oh, fuck. And that's the last thing I remember. Really, my chin hit the center console. I shattered my chin. It was in tons of pieces. I got a metal plate here. Broke my jaw. I had it wired shut for 6 weeks, excuse me. And they had to use the jaws of life to get me out because the accident was so bad. The first cop on scene had to get psychological counseling. So that's how grisly that was. I mean, in the hospital, I remember waking up and, like, the most pain I've ever felt, because I still remember, like, they were using metal tie wire to, like, tie my teeth back together at the front. Jesus. I got 3 fake teeth in there. I lost 4. years later from that. But just the agony of that. And that event, one would think, should have sobered me up. But even now, as I look back, that was a big fucking event. But the drinking wasn't bad. It was still with friends. I would still only drink at parties. I would still only drink at nights out with people. Towards the end, when I was 28, I was drinking by myself. It was sad. It was isolating. It was depressing.
That's when you really know.
Yeah.
You've hit the fucking bottom. Like, everything's going fucking wrong.
Oh, my God.
Buying pints of fucking,
Jack
JD.
Daniels. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I remember those fucking days.
Yeah. I mean, you start with some high-test scotch because you're like, you know what? I'm not that bad. I'm just going to enjoy it. Like, if I spend $50 and get drunk, that's a treat. But then when you're down to Jack Daniels, it's like,
you're like, what can I afford?
This is rock bottom.
Yeah,
Right.
we're here.
This is rock fucking bottom. And, a lot of it at that point was just, I remember distinctly, and this is also too when I think I was even heavier than the 248 I talked about, because I think I was just really miserable. I'd say probably 250, 260, maybe even 270 at my heaviest. And I'm 5'10". People always used to tell me I carried it well. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
But, at that point, it was just really sad when I think about it. Because I would wake up, I would go to sleep every night drunk, wishing, like literally trying to pray, trying to like find a magic genie lantern to rub, and just wish that I would wake up as somebody different. And I realize it now, after years later, like, that is the power of choice that I talked about, to circle it back to that. Because I realize now that wishing, and I was trying to throw it out to the universe, that ties in with that passivity that I talked about. I didn't realize that the only person who was going to save me was me. And I didn't realize that I had fucking evidence of just magically getting sober after almost dying once, ODing. I had done that before. And it was realistically, that was such a big shift for me to go like, okay, nobody's coming to save me. I can have everything I want. I just got to do the fucking work. I got to come up with a plan. I got to figure out how to do all the stuff I don't know how to do. And it's this real, I hate using the come to Jesus, but it's rock bottom where you're just like, okay, the only way out is up. And I think about it like when I was depressed too. It's like the way I describe it to people is like, imagine being at the bottom of this deep, dark, cold well. And you're sitting there and it's pitch black. And all you can do is feel the roughness of the brick and the earth. Mm-hmm. And you can't climb up. And like what seems like a fucking mile away is this tiny speck of sunlight. And that's happiness. Because sunlight has always felt like happiness to me. And you can barely see it. And when you're powerless, when you're in that victim mindset, when you're at your worst, it seems like you can't get out. But once you start realizing that you have the power within you to make those changes and start climbing up, and it's not going to happen overnight, right? You decide to get sober, you decide to lose weight, you got to embrace the suck because it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it's not. And I love the term embrace the suck.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people know how to do that. Like, really fucking dig in and just embrace the shit that you're about to go through.
Yeah.
I do want to touch upon both of your pivotal moments there, especially with the accident and when you OD'd. It seemed like there was really like a higher power involved in something that kept you here. Because if that accident happened any other way,
oh yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Right. Dude. How did you walk away? You know what I mean?
Most people wouldn't.
In order to get you to where you are now, like, and all the change that you're making.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I'm going to say a joke too, because when one of the kids who was in the car with me, like, we would still hang out after that, after it all happened. And whenever he would annoy me, I'd be like, look, dude, I know I can survive a tree at 70 miles an hour. Can you do that?
It's a good thing you can joke about it.
Well, how do you not joke about it? I mean, the things that I've been through, I wouldn't be sane if I didn't know how to joke about it. I have a very dark sense of humor. I love people who have dark sense of humor because usually it comes from some horrifying shit.
And pain.
And perspective.
And pain.
Yeah.
So much pain.
To really, we've said this before.
You have to find comedy.
Oh my God, you do. And to be so compassionate and have so much compassion and empathy, not just for yourself, for someone else, you have had to have gone through an immense amount of fucking hurt and pain to bring you to that place where you can sit across from somebody and be like, I know how you feel right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not the end. I feel for you. I'm going to hold space for you. And to have that kind of level of empathy and compassion, you've had to go through some fucking shit.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, you can't fake that. I mean, I'm very thankful looking back at all that I've been through in life because it has given me an understanding of the depth of the human suffering that I think very few people can appreciate unless you've been there. And I think to jump around and go back to the higher power, which I avoided, that's something I've thought about so often when I was younger. I was like, nope, it was just luck. There's no higher power, nothing like that. I mean, that was.
Did you not believe back then?
No, like I said, I mean, I was kind of sort of like a Buddhist nihilist. Like
Yeah,
I don't believe in nothing Lebowski. You know?
Okay. We're here. We're doing.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, Lebowski.
Thank you. I think it was just. I didn't want to believe that I was special. I think is what it was, and it goes into that lack of self-worth. It's like I couldn't have been saved for that. I mean, my parents were like, I think the year before, like my dad's father passed away, and to him it was this revelation that like he was my guardian angel watching over me, which could be. I have no idea. I don't claim to know everything, despite the fact when I walked in here, both of you thought that I'd been here 100 times.
Right, coming up the elevator, you know where you're going.
Yeah,
right?
I just walk with a sense of purpose. Yeah. Follow me, my children.
We were.
I get to the end of the hall. I'm like, okay, where do we go now, friends?
Right? I'm like, oh, you haven't been here before. Oh, okay. You seem like you did. You know?
It's that confidence, that purpose.
Yeah, you've definitely grown that for yourself.
You know, I like to say, like, my guardian angel, I feel like whichever guardian angel I had has taken a little break because I've put the guardian angel, whether it's male or female, I think it's female, I think its name's Blue, I know it is. But Blue has served me very well, and Blue needed a fucking vacation. Yeah. Now, hopefully, they got their wings and they're just...
Right. No, mine got their wings and more, man. They're in charge of something up there.
Yeah, I hope the goodness came to whatever
right.
being that was.
Right.
Fuck. Yeah, those are the biggest events that have really impacted everything and then just really given me the perspective of where I'm at now. The only way out is through. You can avoid as much as you want, but it's always going to find you, and it's going to come back worse each fucking time.
That sounds...
Until you work on it.
Yeah.
And go through it, like you said. Now, you've mentioned your parents a few times, and it sounds like they were really supportive throughout your whole process.
Yeah, we had a very tense relationship because they were the best parents to have during all that. They were so fucking supportive. Big picture wise, they hung in there with me when many would have given up, and I'm so thankful for that. You know, they are wonderful people, and it's interesting as I've gotten older and I've started healing these things and talk to them more and try to heal the wounds. I really see them for just two people who were doing their best. They weren't these infallible beings. Like once they retired, they became completely different people. So much more laid back. It dawned on me. It's like the amount of stress that each one of us goes through, like three of us working on our businesses, working, doing whatever we're doing. Yeah. And then parenting, just regular parenting. Then you have a kid who's struggling with mental health, who's not talking because I wouldn't share what I was going on. Like I was in therapy for 20 fucking years, maybe even more than that. I lost track. By the time I was like 13, just prescribed these just ridiculous mood stabilizers because they thought I was bipolar. But like, I mean, let's be honest. If you're going through puberty and you're dealing with trauma, which nobody's talking about, and you're doing drugs on top of that, like you're gonna. You
didn't know the trauma that you had, though, too.
Because I wouldn't. The therapist wouldn't even scratch the surface of that. Right. I would just shut down. They'd be like, "How you doing? Fine."
Have you been able to share with your parents about what you've gone through?
I was just going to ask that question.
Some of them. They're always. I've shared some of this. A lot of it, I don't think they would get. My dad has sort of a spiritual side, but it's much different. Like he's really into Joel Osteen, so it's more Christian. But I think they're here to listen, but they don't ever want to push. And sometimes it comes across like they don't care, but they just they want me to be comfortable sharing it with them. So I've shared the comfortable stuff, not the wild stuff. Like I haven't told them the Shadow Day story because I feel like that would horrify them if they know the whole story of that.
Do they know who? Because you mentioned it was someone you knew.
Yeah.
Do they know who?
Yeah, it was her brother, my mom's brother. And
what? Do you mind me asking what dynamic that played out 6-7 years ago when this started coming up?
It wasn't bad, honestly, because my mother's side of the family was a traditional, old-school Irish family. Everybody, my mother wasn't an alcoholic, she barely drank, but everybody, her two brothers, actually, she had one brother, the brother who did it, John. He drank all the time. He was the most unhealthy individual ever. So like we had sort of separated from that side of the family when I was a teenager, unbeknownst to that, because there was multiple ruined holidays, a lot of badness. I mean, her father was this abusive, drunken, just physically, mentally abusive. So her childhood was just fucking frightening, the little she's ever shared about it. So it was very sort of easy to move on because everybody on that side had actually died. I think one of her brothers was alive, who was disconnected from that whole thing. So it was very sweet. It was kind of fucked up. But I remember, like, after sharing that with them one day, I was still living at home. I came home and she was sitting there taking the family albums and just, like, cutting him out of every picture.
Wow.
And it's like, it's funny, I'm getting emotional thinking about that. It's like, that's so fucked up, man.
To remove somebody out of your life in that way.
Yeah. But, I mean, even just for her to have, again, I make it about other people, but it's like, just for her to have to sit there in that act of doing that, and look at that film and go, fuck, that happened to my son. Yeah. And what's funny about that is she was such an overprotective mother. She was always worried about all these external sort of stressors and things that can go wrong. Like I wasn't allowed to play sports until I was 13. I couldn't watch like wrestling until I was 13. Couldn't watch The Simpsons until I was 13. It's odd because 13 is my lucky number. But just like I couldn't climb into like tree houses because she was afraid I would fall and break a leg. And all of that worrying that she did about these external things, I've always thought about how fucked up it is. Like it's the one thing she didn't consider. Like with her family and how close that was. And it's like, I think it gives you perspective, or at least gave me perspective of like, you can't worry about everything because you don't. It's the one thing you don't think about that's going to get you. So why, it's one thing to be concerned and to plan for things, but why obsess over it? Why stress over it? Why let it eat you up? Because I look at her and I think, just the amount of stress and anxiety I feel like she experiences, it breaks my heart. She doesn't really want to change. That's been the toughest thing, and I think in our relationship is seeing that and like going to do my own work, and even my dad's doing some of the work, but like she just is content in her ways.
Probably not content, probably comfortably numb in that way. You know, it's what she knows. It's all she knows. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was her upbringing. I get it, but it's like it's always challenging when you do this work, especially if you have parents that are relatives or partners and they don't do it. It's like, okay, this is probably never going to work.
No. And you just say to yourself, the one thing that I realized with healing is that it does ripple outward. It does affect the people in your life. And regardless if those people do the work that you do or not, they're still feeling it. Mm-hmm. They're still feeling something. They're just like, kind of like, all right, and you can mend that relationship with them. I think that's what matters most, right?
Yeah.
Is mending that relationship with them, being on a different level with them, regardless if they're doing that work or not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what's important is you don't want to leave this life with regrets.
No.
So really try and do your best to do what you can.
Because you're just going to come back here and fucking beat it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. How many times are we going to come back, people?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I've lived 100 lives. I'm ready to get off this bus.
Seriously, right?
Yep.
I think somebody told me a couple of days ago. They were like, your soul's probably going to need about 500 to 1,000 years to kind of recuperate. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I'm not going back here for a few centuries.
Yeah. I'm going to go somewhere else for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So what's something you're really proud of, Ben, in your life that you've accomplished?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that after going through everything I've gone through, that I still have faith in the inherent goodness of man, that I still want to help people. Because I think it's very easy going through what I've been through to stay with those wounds and just close yourself off even more. So I'm proud of myself every day for being better, just a little bit more, opening my heart up, opening my feelings up, and just keep going, but never giving up. That's what I'm most proud about myself.
What's the flip side of that? What's the thing that you regret still? Like the biggest regret if you have one?
Jesus. I think the biggest regret is the time that I feel like I've wasted. And I say wasted because there's two different levels to it. There's one level of time where I was simply emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually incapable of being better or feeling better or doing, but however you want to say it, being in that positive or that light. And then there's other times where I use that as a crutch, and I could have tried harder. I could have done things differently, but I used it as a crutch where I let my limitations hold me back. I think that wishing I could get that time back is my biggest regret. But knowing it's all part of the big picture.
It's all part of the process.
Yes, 100%.
And that time needed to be that way for a reason.
Yeah. But as you said, I'm like, but did it?
Did it really?
But it did.
Yeah,
I was there too. Like, my journey, no, I needed to be where I was so that I could be where I am now.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
Who are
right.
you?
You know who I am.
Who are you?
I'm a boss bitch.
Okay. There we go.
What other things do you want to share with the audience before we start to wrap up?
Wow.
What's the one thing you really want to provide them in their path, in their healing journey?
I mean, the biggest thing is I want people to know that there's somebody out there who's willing to sit with you and help you through these times. You're not alone. I think is the biggest thing. Whatever you're going through, you are not alone. I'm there. There's other people here doing this work, healers, coaches, therapists, whatever. Don't give up. Reach out to somebody. Because I know what it's like to feel like you're at that bottom of the well. So if you're sitting at that bottom of the well, just start doing something. Change it up. Start small.
Just reach out.
Yeah,
That's all it takes is reaching out to one person.
That's it. Don't matter.
It
Just
could be a friend, anyone.
Yeah.
Just reach out. Say you're struggling. And that's why I think the men's work is so fucking powerful. And I'm glad that it's there. I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to meet you. But it's just like, I feel like men, there's a lot of men out there struggling right now. And I feel like they think it's a burden they have to take on themselves. We feel like we should be able, what's that?
Live up to this fucking persona.
You should be able to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at everything that was created. There's a lot of people coming together. Just life in general, buildings, fucking societies, higher level stuff. Like, it's people coming together. That's how things get done. It's not being isolated. It's not doing it on your own. There's parts of it that you need to do on your own, but a community is such a big thing. Just being able to be yourself and be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm not all right. You know, I heard something the other day that was like, if you're a man and you hear another man say he's tired, ask for clarification.
Yeah.
What are you tired of? Are you just physically tired, or are you tired of life? Because there's a big fucking distinction between those.
Right.
You know? And a lot of people just simply won't ask.
Yeah. And men won't fucking tell. We won't share that. We'll just say we're tired. We know subconsciously we're reaching out in that moment, but we're not going to go any further than that. As men, that's just the way we are. That's how we approach it. Most will not go that extra step. They'll say, okay, we're retired. That's it.
Yeah.
You won't hear anything. So if you hear that, fucking ask.
Yeah, it's made me think. I haven't thought about that in a while. I think when I was like 14 or 15, I had a friend, and I'll never forget this. He called me up one night, and I think I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, and looking back, I could tell there was something off in his voice, and he was seeing if I wanted to hang out. But I was with my girlfriend at the time, so I couldn't, you know. And then come to find out the next day, I go meet up with some other friends. He killed himself that fucking night. And it's like, I hadn't thought about that in a long time, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
We feel that fucking despair sometimes, man.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's something that we feel as men is hard to express simply because we just don't have that. There hasn't been that space in society that's been created. It's been a cultural fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, and how we're supposed to be as men. So, men's work is super important.
Super important.
Especially in this society, like you said, because white men are definitely, you guys are set apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
There's a lot of things
fair.
going on in today's society that is causing that, and that's definitely a conversation for another show.
Yeah, that's
I don't want to get too wrapped up
into
it and stuff because it's deep. It's a deep conversation. But you're right.
God,
You're absolutely right to bring that up.
Yeah,
You know, it's huge. So there's a lot there that's playing into how we as men are feeling today. And you're right, we need more of that feminine energy coming in. And that men's work that is being done, even in brotherhood in the group, we work hard to bring that in and create that space so it allows the feminine energy to come in so that we can share, and we can express and we feel good about it and we can leave with some fucking solutions,
Yeah.
and walk away knowing there's a fucking support group going on.
Yeah.
There's a way out.
Yeah, there is. Matt, how can people get in touch with you and work with you if they want to touch base?
Yeah, thanks. It's great. Visit my website, nourishandconquer.com. There's stuff on there about the coaching with me, the different breathwork offerings, the myofascial release that people can do. So I don't have social media. I got off that because it drives me insane. And for mental health, I just had to pull the plug and delete all of it and run screaming into the hills.
Good for you.
It's my first step. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Because you were saying everybody's mad at everybody, and once you pull that plug, suddenly nobody's mad.
Nobody's mad.
You might see somebody in your personal life who is mad, but
it
doesn't make you think that the entire world are a bunch of stark raving lunatics.
Right, it's true.
So if you want to improve your mental health, 2 easy steps. Stop watching the news, get off of social media. Boom!
Yes.
Done.
60% of your problems will disappear.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. Not great with math.
Yeah. No, it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Definitely up there.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't know the individuals reaching out hearing this, so I don't want to simplify things. Or if you want to email me, it's matt@nourishandconquer.com.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Melissa, any other questions for Matt?
No, this was great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Had a blast, man. Looking forward to doing this at some point down the road again.
Yeah, love it.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, everyone.